Morning, everyone. Let me welcome you to Medso African Tips, whereby I want us to look at economics, paper one, grade 10, term 4, whereby we are going to make a revision on section C, which is an AC. So I want us to look at an AC question on economics, grade 10, paper 1. So let us be together on this revision so as to make sure that we are well prepared and ready for the examination that we're going to write on economics paper 1. So the essay is where your marks are. So make sure that you're going to make use of this presentation to help you to uh, pass the essay that you're going to write on economics grade 10. So without wasting much time, let's go straight into the section C. Section C, you know very well that you've said section C, essay, question, an essay, question. So there is an instruction which says answer one of the two questions from this section in the answer book. So you have to answer one question on this section. But as you're going to answer both of those two questions. So we're going to answer both of those two questions, question 5 and 6, because we are revising. We are trying to make sure that we prepare ourselves. So your answer will be assessed as follows. So meaning now we are coming to the structure of AC. So make sure that when you write AC, you have what? Introduction. The introduction is a lower order response. A good starting point would be to define main concept related to the question topic of the essay. So don't include any part of the question in your introduction. Do not repeat any part of the introduction in the book. So what you have said in the introduction, make sure that you're not going to repeat it in the body. Avoid mentioning the introduction, what you are going to discuss in the body. So in the essay, in your introduction, don't mention what you're going to talk about in the body, please. So now we are on the body, this main part. So this is whereby on the main part you are going to discuss. You're going to discuss in detail. You're going to give in-depth discussion. You're going to examine, critical discuss, compare, analyze, evaluate, distinguish, differentiate, and stuff. And there is also additional part. So with additional part, this is where we're going to give your own opinion. Try to evaluate, critically evaluate. You can even draw a graph and explain. You can also use graph that is given. Complete the given graph and calculate the use, explain, distinguish, and stuff like that. And also make sure that your essay now have what? Conclusion. That you're not talking about the higher order of conclusion. And it should include a brief summary of what has been discussed. But don't repeat the facts that are already mentioned in the book. That is very important. Any opinion or value judgment of the facts is discarded. Additional support information to strengthen the discussion or analysis. A contradictory viewpoint with motivation is required. Also, you can give what? Recommendations. You can also give what? Recommendations. So let us move on. So here we are on our question 5. This is your question 5 where we're going to do macroeconomics. So it says discuss in detail 4 participants of circular flow of an open economy and interrelationships between them. Also, how has BRICS membership helped South Africa with its foreign sector trade relationships? So let's quickly go to our answers. Here we are on our answers. Question 5, macroeconomics. The question says we are to discuss in detail for participants of the circular for an open economy and their interrelationship between them and how BRICS membership helps South Africa with its foreign sector trade relationship. Like you've said, your essay must have what? Introduction. So now we said introduction, you have to define the concept of the keyword of the question. So this is how our introduction is going to be. Markets coordinate economic activities and determine prices for goods and services. So the circular flow model is a simplified representation of the interaction between participants of the economy. So you can see now we have talked about the key word of the question, whether we were told about what the circular flow in an open economy. As we say, the circular flow model is a simplified representation of interaction between participants of the economy. So make sure that your introduction, the keyword, the concept of the question is in there. So now let us come to the main part. Let us come to the main part. So in economies, the circular flow model represents the flow of goods, services, among between four main participants. So our four main participants is household, firms, government, as well as what? Foreign sector, as well as the foreign sector. So now we're going to talk about the households. So the households are individuals or groups that consume goods and services and supply factors of production such as labor, land, and capital to firms. So those are the households. Those are of individuals of groups or that consume goods, who buys goods and services. But they also supply what factors of production, because they can supply firms with labor, with land where they can rent there. Also, they can supply capital to firms. Also, in return, they can receive income from their participation in the production process, primarily in the form of wages and salaries and rents. Because if we have said the supply factors of production increase, they supply what labor, and then for them working for the firms or enterprises, they're going to get salaries or wages. But with the land that they have, they can get rents. And also the capital, also they can get return on their capital, can get what profits. So households allocate their income to consumption, savings, and payment of taxes. So that is that. So now we're to talk about their interrelationship. Households. We want to know their interrelationships. Their interrelationship to firms, their interrelationships to government, also their interrelationship to foreign sector. Foreign sector. To firms, you can say the households sell labor. Like we've said, they sell labor. They also receive income. They also buy goods and services. This is what we have talked about. They can sell to our firms labor, or our laborers working for those firms, they can receive what? Income. Also to those firms, their households, they can buy what? Goods and services. But to government, the households pay taxes. And also from government, they receive transfer or public goods and services from government. To foreign sector, the households buy imports and sell exports through firms. So that is that. Who we get these interrelationships. So it says here today, words that were given under these interrelationships, as to make it more clear, households act as consumers. They act as what? Consumers. Because of what? They can buy goods and services from firms. They purchase goods and services from firms. This consumption expenditure is crucial source of revenue for firms. This consumption expenditure is crucial source of revenue for firms. That is that. Also, households supply factors of production to firms, like you talked about labor. That's what I've already said. That's what. In return, they receive income in the form of wages, which they can then use for consumption as well as for saving. That income that they can save it, they can also use it for consumption. Also, the household pay tax to the government, which helps fund public goods and services that are going to receive from the government. Hope now is very clear. As we've said, the interrelationships can be to firms, government, as well as foreign sector. So now let us come to the firms. Let us come to firms. Firms, also known as a business or producers, are in the economic entities that produce goods and services. They produce goods and services, the firms. They can be business, they can produce, they can manufacture using factors of production supplied by household. Those factors of production, we're talking about land, we're talking about capital, we're talking about labor. So they produce goods and services using those factors of production that are supplied by the household. Firms aim to generate revenue through the sales of their products. So their aim, the bottom line is to make what revenue, income, and maximum profits by controlling costs, optimizing production. So they maximize their profits by making sure that they're going to control the costs. That is that. That is that. So now we come to the interrelationships. There are interrelationships. We have said with interrelationship, we can talk about now households, we can talk about government, we can talk about foreign sector. That is the household now. Firms hire labor. They hire laborers from households. Also sell goods and services to households. That's the interrelationship that we're talking about. But let us come to government now. With government, firms pay tax. They pay tax to government and receive subsidies from what? From the government. Government can subsidize the firms. But to foreign sector firms, when you talk of interrelationship, they export goods and import goods and in all the inputs of goods. That is that. So now let us make it more clearer with the points that are given under this interrelationship. Firms produce goods and services that are consumed by households. That is the interrelationship when it comes to household. Also, firms, they supply the goods and services demanded by the households and receive revenue from their sales. So they sell their products and services to households. And then they receive what? The revenue from the sale of their goods. Firms employ labor and other factors of production provided by households. That is what we have already said, that they hire labor. Also, they also pay wages and salaries and other forms of compensation to household. Firms pay taxes to government. That's what you've talked about, which contributes to the government review. We'll be able to get out that. So now let us move on to government now. Now under government, government plays a crucial role in the sector flow. It provides public goods and services, regulates economic activities, implements fiscal and monetary policies. Also, government collects tax and care expenditure and redistribute income through various programs. And this is the good. So now let us see how the government and interrelationships. So we are going to talk about the households. Households. We are going to talk about firms, policy. So to household, the government is going to collect tax and then provide transfers, public goods. You see, but to firms now, the government is still going to collect tax and provide subsidies, and as well as the regulation. To foreign sector, the government engage in international trade agreement or aid. So that is that. That's how it interrelate with uh, this other, where with household as well as firms and foreign sector. So now let us make it more clear. The government collect tax from both household and firms, that's what we have said, which form significant portion of the government revenue. These taxes are used to finance public goods and services such as infrastructure, education, healthcare, health, and defense. So that is the importance of these taxes, that it collects from households and firms. They are there to give benefits of improving infrastructure, improving our education, healthcare, and so on. The government purchases goods and services from firms, such as defense, equipment, and infrastructure projects. So they in return purchase from firms. You see that interrelationship. Also, the government implements fiscal policies such as taxation and government spending, which can influence the behavior of household and firms. So that is that. Now let us move on to foreign sector. Let us move on to foreign sector. The foreign sector represents the economic transaction between domestic economy and the rest of the world. This includes imports, export, and foreign investment and international. That's when we talk about the foreign sector. So now let us come to the interrelationship. Interrelationship to households, interrelationship to firms, interrelationship to government. To household, foreign sector, trade goods and services. So it trades goods and services via the firms. That is that. But to firms, trade goods and services, they can also invest as well as borrow from them. But to government, that's when we're talking about the trade agreements, aid and loans. That is how they interrelate. So let's come to the points that are given in the relationships. The foreign sector imports goods and services produced by firms in the domestic. Hope you understand it. This provides revenue to domestic firms and affect their production decisions because of important goods and services from other firms or business in another country. It gives the domestic firms a revenue. Domestic firms export goods and services to foreign sector. Also, this generate income from foreign countries. The foreign sector also invests in domestic firms, providing capital and influencing domestic investment. The signal for multi industries, the interconnectedness of these participants, highlighting how income and goods and services flow one thing. It emphasizes interdependence of households, firms, and government and the foreign sector in the function of the overall economy. So that is that and we have to get max of 26. So now let us come to the additional part. Let us come to the additional part. How has BRICS membership helped South Africa with its foreign sector trade relationships? So we are going to talk about how has BRICS helped South Africa with its foreign sector relationship. So this is where we're going to talk about enhanced trade and investment. Invest, enhanced trade and investment. Enhanced trade and investment. That is saying, as it says, being a member of BRICS provides South Africa with opportunities to enhance trade investment with other member of countries. You find out trade with BRICS partner grow an impressive 70% from 27 to 2020, exceeding 800 billion in 2022. That is how it enhance the trade and investment. That is that. Trade, yes, trade and investment. Also, it can lead to increased bilateral trade and investment flows, as well as the exploration of new markets for South African goods and services. So here we're talking about increased uh, bilateral flows, increased bilateral flows. So with this one, we're talking about foreign direct investment in key sectors like mining, automotive, manufacturing, IT, clean energy, have introduced sustainable technologies, create jobs, and driving economic growth. That is that. So moving on again, South Africa can benefit from greater access to the large and rapidly growing consumer markets of the other BRICS countries. We need to say we are talking about access to large markets. We're talking about to access to large markets. Access to large markets. Meaning to say, BRICS offers South Africa greater access to large and growing consumer markets, increasing export opportunities, and diversifying trade partners. That is that. So let us move on. BRICS membership fosters economic cooperation and collaboration among member countries. So we are talking about economic cooperation and collaboration. Economic cooperation and collaboration. Meaning to say, BRICS fosters economic cooperation, promote mutual trade, investment, and knowledge sharing among member countries. That is that. Also, it says this can lead to the sharing of best practices, knowledge, and expertise in various sectors, including technology, infrastructure, agriculture, and finance. So here we are talking about what sharing best practices. Sharing best, sharing best practices. That is where we're talking about collaboration, enables the sharing of best practices, knowledge, expertise in various sectors, enhancing competitiveness and driving innovation. Hope we are together. Also, such cooperation can contribute to economic development, competitiveness in South Africa. So economic development and competitiveness. We're talking about economic development, economic development and competitiveness and competitiveness. Competitiveness. So what we are trying to see, we are saying BRICS membership contributes to South Africa's economic development, improving infrastructure, skill development, regional integration. That is that. Also, BRICS has established financial institutions like New Development Bank, the contingent reserve arrangement. So now we are talking about what? Financial institutions. We are talking about financial institutions. As we are saying, the New Development Bank and contingent reserve arrangement provide financial support and stability, offering funding for infrastructure projects and development initiatives. Hope we are together, Greetings. These institutions aim to provide financial support and stability to member countries, particularly during times of economic crisis. Particularly during what? Economic crisis. South Africa can access funding from these institutions for infrastructure projects and other development initiatives. So this is how BRICS membership helps South Africa with its foreign sector trade interrelationships. So now let us go to conclusion. Let us conclude our question 5. So the actual impact of BRICS membership on South Africa's foreign sector relationships will depend on various factors, including policies, strategies implemented by South African government, the level of cooperation among BRICS countries, and the broader global economy. So accept the relevant conclusion. So this is the end of what? Question 5. And now we have to move on to question 6. So let us go to question 6. So here we are on our question 6. We are going to talk about the economic pursuits. It says, discuss in detail industrial development with focus on the following aspects: mechanization of production, urbanization, and migration. And how did the influence of immigrants contribute to the industrial development of South Africa? So let's quickly go to answers and give explanation there. So here we are on our answers on question 6. Economic pursuits. Economic pursuits. So you remember it says discuss in detail industrial development to focus on the following aspects: mechanization of production, urbanization, and migration, and how the influence immigrants contribute to the industrial development of South Africa. So that is that. So now we are on to the introduction. The industrial development is the building of growing of industries within an economy by using technology, which makes jobs easier, faster, and better, and leads to an increase in business output and an increase in profits. So accept any other relevant introduction. So now let us come to the main part now. Mechanization of taxing. Mechanization of taxing. So when you talk of mechanization, when you talk of mechanization of production, mechanization in South African industrial development, it refers to shift. This refers to the shift from manual labor to the machine-based production. the machine-based. That's what it means. In increasing efficiency and productivity. Get it straight. That is that. So we can make an example when you're talking about the mining industry. The introduction of machinery for gold and diamond mining increased output and reduced what? Labor cost. Manufacturing sector, under manufacturing sector, the adoption of automated production lines boosted production capacity and quality. That is why we have said this is whereby this is a shift from manual labor to the machine-based production, trying to increase efficiency and productivity. So that is that. So coming to the points that are mentioned here, as it says, the industrial revolution was the transition to new manufacturing process. New manufacturing process. That is the way people worked and the way goods were produced and changed. That is when we talk about what? Mechanization. Shifting from manual to machine-based. So mechanization, the use of machines to the work of animals or humans was employed in the manufacturing process. And the use of machines to do the work of animals. Now machines are doing the work that was done by animals in olden days or previously, or the work that was done by humans. So the factory system is characterized by complicated division of labor called organization of work. So in this system, a worker is responsible for a task in the production line. Hand tools were replaced with mechanical tools. The processing of iron is a good example of this. Processing of iron. Before mechanization, many workers had to handle bulk material with shovels and wheelbarrows. That is before. They had to use wheelbarrows. So after mechanization, an iron ore processing plant process 20,000 tons of ore per day with 2 shifts of 5 men each. Say, with only few labors, they were able to produce what? 20,000 tons. See, agricultural innovation included better farming methods and techniques, which improved soil fertility and the quality of food. So before mechanization and practice, tractors were made mainly in people's homes, using basic equipment. So that is that. So now let us come to urbanization and migration. Let us come to urbanization and migration. So urbanization and migration played a significant role in South Africa industrial development as people moved from rural areas to cities. It was people to remove from rural areas to cities. For example, we can make of Johannesburg grow. The city's population surged due to gold mining, transforming it into a major industrial hub. That is that when you talk of urbanization. But when it comes to labor migration, workers from rural areas and neighboring countries move to urban centers for employment industries like mining as well as manufacturing. Oh, understood? So here under urbanization and migration, said industrial led to the establishment of cities around core fields of factories and near important ports. A considerable growth occurred during this period in urban populations as people from countryside flocked to live and work in the cities. As we have said that the workers from rural areas, they are going to move to urban centers for employment in industries like mining as well as manufacturing. There was a big demand for IT workers to do various types of work at the factories. That is that. So, in addition to internal migration, the population is also influenced by migration and immigration. So as the opportunities in the industrialized areas begin to attract people from other countries, more than 1 million English and Welsh and Scottish workers in the 18th century also left their homelands for overseas destinations, mainly to the colonies. That is where we have seen the colonies, those European settlers come to South Africa. Besides the political and religious refugees, most of them were in search for better economic opportunities. Besides of the political or religious refugees, they were here for better economic opportunities. By 1900, most of industrial countries, at least 50% were urbanized. That is that. Last market, manufactured goods begin to open new cities. That is that. The living conditions of workers in the cities were very difficult. Long working hours, up to 16 hours a day, was common. In many cases, residents were overcrowded and without proper drainage and water supply, men and very low wages. In Africa, transition from colonial system of government to self-employment was very difficult. The rapid rate of urbanization has not kept with increasing economic activities, not accompanied. In sub-Saharan Africa, skilled labor and management skills were essential and capital was very scarce. Most countries apart South Africa do not have strong non-industrial bases. Internationalization requires investment in infrastructure such as road and electricity, networks and labor quality, as well as expensive machines. South Africa, to a less extent than Southern Rhodesia, has developed a considerable manufacturing sector. Apart from electric growth in the manufacturing sector, in the Belgian Congo, the rest of Africa did not become industrialized. In some countries, elite groups have benefited when and after independence, ownership of companies was transferred to local owned. So now let us come to additional, let us come to additional part of a how the influx, how the influx of immigrants contribute to the industrial development of South Africa. That is the additional part that we are to look at. This additional part that we are to look at. So, as we are talking about the influx of the immigrants contribute to the industrial development of South Africa, we know very well that the immigrants contributed significantly, significantly to South African, to South African, to South African industrial development. Industrial development. We can talk of skilled labor. We can talk of skilled labor. We can talk of entrepreneurship. We can talk of cultural exchange. As you know, skilled labor, European immigrants brought expertise. They brought expertise and skills, enhancing industrial capacity. Coming to entrepreneurship, contribution by the immigrants is that immigrants established business, introducing new technologies and management practices. That is that. Coming to cultural, coming to cultural exchanges. The immigrants influenced local culture, contributing to innovation and creativity. That is the culture that comes with what? The immigrants. That is that. We can talk about the specific examples under this contribution. We can talk about mining industry. European migrants introduced advanced mining. That is true. Textile industry. Indian immigrants established textile manufacturing business, boosting production and as well as exports. That is that. So let us come to the point that I mentioned here and how did the influx of the immigrants contribute to the industrial development of South Africa. He said immigrants have provided diverse, often highly skilled labor force to support industrial development in South Africa. Like we have talked about the skilled labor, as we've talked about skilled labor. Also, many immigrants possess specialized skill expertise that are in demand in various sectors, including engineering, healthcare, information technology, and finances. So it is through the immigrants that those skills were possessed, those expertise in various sectors, because they were lacking into those sectors. But they came and tried by all means to contribute to and develop those sectors that were lacking when it comes to specialized skills. Also, by filling skill gaps in the labor market, immigrants have contributed to the growth and productivity of industry. So they fill the skills there. As you know that in South Africa, there was a scarce of skilled because we find ourselves with those people who are without the necessary skills to do the job, and that affects our productivity. But the immigrants tried by all means to fill that gap. So, and that contributed positively by making sure that our production increases. Immigrants also have played a crucial role in entrepreneurship and business development in South Africa. So that is also the role that they play when it comes to entrepreneurship because of introduction of new technologies and management practices. Many migrants have established business ranging from small-scale enterprise to large corporations, thereby creating job opportunities and contributing to economic growth. So, if the economy of South Africa was boosted by the parents, also people were now able to access to hope we are together. Also, the entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to take risks have helped stimulate innovation and competition in various sectors. So people are now not afraid to take risk of starting their own enterprises, taking a risk of starting their own businesses. Immigrants, particularly those financial resources, have contributed to economic investment in South Africa. That is done. They often bring capital from their home countries and have access to international networks that facilitate what investment. This investment has been instrumental in establishment and expansion of businesses, leading to job creation, technology transfer, industrial growth. The influence of immigrants has facilitated the transfer of knowledge, ideas, technology advance to South Africa. So that is that they came and help South Africans to be quick with knowledge and ideas. Immigrants bring diverse experiences, expertise, and international perspectives, which lead to introduction of new technology, management practices, and innovation. This knowledge exchange has positively influenced industrial sectors, improving efficiency, competitiveness, and productivity. Immigrants have contributed to the expansion of domestic markets as well as South Africa. With diverse backgrounds and cultural ties to other countries, Immigrants have helped foster international trade and investment links. They often act as intermediaries, facilitating trade between South Africa and their home countries and other nations. This increased market connectivity has opened up new opportunities for South African industries to access global markets and expand their customer base. So that is the now coming to the conclusion. The history of industrial development in Africa evidence efforts to mechanize production shows the significant trends of urbanization and migration. While challenges persist, progress has been made in the adoption of urbanization in agriculture and manufacturing sectors, so accept any other relevant. This is the end of our presentation. So pretend make sure that you're going to make use of this presentation uh, as a revision for you to prepare and get ready for the exams that you're going to write on Economics Grade 10, more especially when it comes to Section C part. That is very important. That has more marks that you are not to make any mistake of making sure that you're going to grab those. Thank you very much for your time. Make sure that you hit the subscription button. Thank you.